The house felt wrong the moment Ethan stepped inside. It was too quiet. The kind of quiet that pressed against his ears and made his thoughts louder. Dust floated in the late afternoon light, turning the air thick and slow. This house had once been full of voices, arguments, laughter, doors slamming, apologies whispered too late. Now it stood frozen, like it was holding its breath. Ethan hadn't planned to come back. He told himself it was just business, just paperwork after his father's sudden hospitalization. That was the excuse. The truth was simpler and harder to admit. Something inside him had been restless for weeks, like a memory knocking from the inside, asking to be let out. He walked through the living room, his footsteps echoing on the old wooden floor. Everything was exactly where it had always been. The framed awards on the wall, the leather couch his father never let anyone sit on, the clock above the fireplace still ticking, steady and cold, as if nothing had ever gone wrong here. Ethan stopped in front of the bookshelf. His eyes landed on a faded blue book wedged between two newer ones. He remembered it. His mother used to read it late at night, long after she thought he was asleep. He pulled it out without thinking. Something slid from between the pages and landed at his feet. An envelope. It was yellowed with age, the corners bent, the paper thin. His name was written across the front in careful handwriting. His father's handwriting. Ethan's chest tightened. The room suddenly felt smaller. He hesitated. He knew better than to open things that had been hidden for years. But some instincts were stronger than caution. He opened the envelope. Inside were documents, copies of legal statements, bank records, court papers. His eyes moved fast, faster with every line. Words blurred together, then sharpened into meaning he couldn't escape. Testimony, signatures, dates. His father's name appeared again and again. Ethan sat down hard on the floor, his back against the couch. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He read the pages again, slower this time, hoping he had misunderstood. He hadn't. Years ago, during the bitter months when his mother vanished from their lives, his father had stood in court and spoken calmly, convincingly about her instability, about her poor judgment, about how she was a risk to her own family. Ethan remembered sitting in the hallway back then, swinging his legs, believing every word because he trusted his father completely. The papers told a different story. His father hadn't just stayed silent while his mother was accused. He had helped build the accusations. He had offered evidence that pushed the court to strip her of everything: custody, reputation, freedom, all to shield himself and his company from a scandal that would have ruined him. At the bottom of the stack was a handwritten note. I did what I had to do. One day you'll understand. Ethan laughed once, short and broken. Understand what? How easy it was to destroy someone you claimed to love. How simple it was to trade a human life for comfort and safety. Memories rushed back, uninvited, and sharp. His mother standing in the kitchen late at night, her hands shaking as she washed dishes that were already clean. His father watching from the doorway, silent, distant. The last argument quiet but heavy, where his mother begged him to believe her, and his father responded with a tired sigh, like she was asking for too much. Then she was gone. No goodbye. No explanation. His father had told him she chose to leave, that she couldn't handle responsibility, that she loved herself more than her family. Ethan had hated her for that, hated her absence, hated the way people at school whispered. He swallowed hard. All those years, he had carried anger meant for the wrong person. The betrayal settled into him slowly, like poison spreading through water. This wasn't just about lies. This was about stolen truth, about shaping a child's memory so completely that reality had no place to grow. Ethan stood up, the document still in his hands. He walked through the hallway toward his parents' old bedroom. The door creaked open. Everything smelled faintly of old cologne and dust. He opened the closet. His mother's side was empty. That realization hurt more than the papers. She hadn't taken anything with her. Not clothes, not photos, not memories. She had been erased quickly, efficiently, like a problem solved rather than a person lost. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, breathing slowly, trying to stay steady. His father had always been admired for his calm under pressure. Now Ethan understood. Why? Calm was easy when you believed you were right. He thought of his father lying in a hospital bed now, fragile and pale. The man who once seemed unbreakable. The man who had controlled every narrative, every outcome. The man who had decided that one person's suffering was acceptable if it protected his future. Outside, a car passed. Its sound distant and unreal. Life was continuing as if nothing had changed. That felt wrong too. Ethan gathered the documents and placed them back in the envelope. His hands no longer shook. Something inside him had gone very still. This wasn't grief. Grief had an end. This was clarity. He left the house as the sun dipped low, locking the door behind him. The key felt heavy in his palm. He didn't look back. As he walked to his car, one thought followed him. Steady and relentless. The truth had been hidden, but it had not disappeared. And now that he knew, nothing, absolutely nothing could return to the way it was. The betrayal wasn't loud. It didn't scream or explode. It waited patiently. And now it had him. The morning arrived clean and sharp, like the world had been reset without asking Ethan's permission. He dressed without thinking, movements steady, mind loud. The flash drive rested in his pocket, light but powerful, a quiet weight pressing against his leg with every step. The venue was already crowded when he arrived. Glass walls, bright lights, voices layered with confidence and praise. People moved with purpose, smiling, shaking hands, celebrating something that felt unreal to him now. Ethan blended in easily. He had learned how to do that from the best. Listening as others spoke about vision and values. His face showed pride, but also strain. Illness had weakened his body, not his control. He still owned the room in subtle ways. A glance, a pause. Silence followed him like loyalty. Ethan's chest tightened. This was it. He moved closer to the doors that led backstage. Security was light. Familiar faces nodded at him. No one stopped him. No one questioned his presence. Power, he realized, didn't always come from force. Sometimes it came from being expected. Behind the stage, the air was cooler, quieter. He stood alone for a moment, the noise of the crowd muffled by thick walls. He took out the flash drive and stared at it in his palm. One action, one choice. He imagined the next hour if he went through with it. The sudden shift in the room. The confusion. The whispers turning sharp. His father frozen under lights meant for praise, not truth. The fall would be fast. Total. Justice, some would call it. Ethan closed his eyes. Another image surfaced. His mother in that small apartment. Her voice calm, her eyes steady. Not broken. Not by fighting back, but by refusing to let the past own her future. The door opened. Ethan, his father, stood there, leaning slightly on a cane, eyes searching. For a moment neither spoke. Years of silence pressed between them. You came, his father said. I had to, Ethan replied. They stood side by side, listening to the distant applause as another speaker finished. The stage manager counted down. 5 minutes. His father exhaled slowly. I know you've been distant. Ethan said nothing. I don't expect forgiveness, his father continued. But I hope you understand why I did what I did. The words landed exactly as Ethan had feared. You destroyed her life, Ethan said, his voice low. And you let me believe she abandoned me. His father's jaw tightened. I protected this family. No, Ethan said. The applause started again, louder now. The moment was closing in. I made a choice, his father said. It wasn't clean. It wasn't fair. But it kept everything from collapsing. Ethan looked at him closely. Not as a hero. Not as a monster. Just a man who had decided the cost was acceptable because he wouldn't be the one paying it. I can end this, Ethan said. His father's eyes flicked to Ethan's pocket. Just once. Enough. I know, he said quietly. There was fear there. Real fear. Not of punishment, but of being seen. Ethan felt it then, the final pull of revenge. The chance to take back power. To balance the scales. More than comfort. The stage manager appeared at the door. We're ready. Ethan stepped back. Go, he said. His father hesitated. Ethan. Go, Ethan repeated. His father walked past him toward the light, toward the applause, toward the version of himself the world still believed in. Ethan stayed where he was. Seconds passed, then minutes. He pulled the flash drive from his pocket, turned it over between his fingers. No more planning, no more imagining. He thought about what revenge would give him. Satisfaction, maybe. Applause from strangers. A sense of control that would fade as soon as it arrived. He also thought about what it would take. The rest of his life, shaped by one moment of destruction. Ethan placed the flash drive back into his pocket and walked out a different door. He didn't stay for the speech. He didn't wait for the applause to fade. He left the building and stepped into the open air, breathing deeply for the first time in weeks. The choice didn't feel heroic. It felt heavy. Days passed. Nothing exploded. No headlines. No public reckoning. The world continued as if the truth had never come close to breaking through. But something had changed. Ethan asked his father to meet him privately. They sat across from each other in a quiet room. No audience, no protection. Ethan laid the evidence on the table. Not to destroy, but to confront. His father read in silence. When he finished, he did not argue. He did not defend himself. I can't undo it, he said. I know, Ethan replied. The air felt thick with years of unsaid things. The truth sat between them, raw and unavoidable. I won't expose this, Ethan said. Not today. Maybe. Not ever. His father looked up, confused. Why? Because I won't let your worst choice decide who I become. That was the moment his father broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet collapse of certainty. He nodded once, accepting. Something he had avoided for years. They did not reconcile. They did not forgive. Some damage could not be erased. But the lie no longer owned the space between them. Ethan left that meeting feeling drained, but lighter. Revenge had promised release. Instead, it had offered chains. Walking away did not heal everything, but it gave him room to breathe. Later, he visited his mother again. He didn't tell her every detail. He didn't need to. She saw it in his eyes. You chose yourself, she said. He nodded. That night, alone, Ethan finally slept. The truth remained. The pain remained. But so did the future. Revenge had stood right in front of him, open and waiting. He had looked at it closely and seen what it would cost. And for the first time since the betrayal, the choice had been his.